Hey everyone, and welcome to the next video in the City of Mist one-shot preparation series. In this video, we're going to be talking about two things. We're going to talk about burning tags and also statuses. So we've already covered your character sheet and how your character is made up of various Mythos and Logos themes, and how each of those themes has power tags associated with it that give you bonuses when you're attempting skill checks. And we also talked about the moves that you're able to do when you are needing to do those skill checks. So burning a tag, basically what this allows you to do is each of your power tags has a little flame symbol next to it. And when you burn a tag, you fill in that flame symbol. And instead of doing your normal add up my power and all this, check my weaknesses, roll my dice, see what my result is, you just treat it as if you had rolled a 10 and had a power of 3 for a total of 13. Your other power tags and weakness tags don't affect this roll. The only thing that would affect this roll is the statuses that you have. So essentially, you're able to burn a tag to get a really good result on your roll. But the downside to that is once a tag is burned, then it can't be used to influence your other moves and skill checks for the remainder of the session until you recover it using a move that you are able to do in between sessions during downtime, which is a topic we won't cover for this one-shot preparation stuff because that's all after the fact. We'll talk about that then. So burn a tag, do something spectacular, but then you sacrifice that tag for the remainder of the session. The next thing we're going to talk about is statuses. This is probably one of the more complicated concepts of the game, but you may have noticed that characters don't have stats. They don't have health pools or defense or anything like that. They just have the themes and the tags, the power tags and the weakness tags. So you may be thinking, well, how do I keep track of my character's health, or how do I knock out enemies, or that kind of stuff? Well, you do all that through statuses. So whenever you would acquire a status, you're going to get a little card, which you can see here, the status spectrum card, and it has two parts. It has a tag, seen here, and it has a tier, which you keep track of here. The tag tells you what the status is and kind of generally what it's doing. So this could be anything from tired to traumatized, confused, electrocuted, on fire, anything like that. And then the tier tells you how much that status is affecting your character. So if we use the example of tired, if you're a tired, you have the tired status and it's tier 1, then this could be something like, you're going on a case early in the morning right after you've woken up. So, you kind of are still a little bit sleepy. Maybe you need a coffee, but it's not too big of a deal. Whereas maybe if you have tired tier 4, then you're under the effects of sleepy spell, or maybe you're really fatigued because you've been running for 30 minutes or something crazy. So that's the parts of a status card. Where this gets important is that if you ever acquire a status that is tier 5, then at that point it seriously affects your character, and the damage or effect is so intense that your character is out. Basically meaning that you can't even attempt to make actions that are affected by this status. So if you were electrocuted 5, then anything you would attempt to do that electrocution would hinder, you wouldn't even be able to attempt to do it. So, that could be anything from running, talking, whatever it is. At that point, that status is affecting you so badly that you can't attempt to do anything affected by it. And then if you ever reach the tier 6, which has the MC for Master of Ceremonies, then at that point the status has affected your character so much that it's time for the Master of Ceremonies, the GM, to take over and basically tell you why your character doesn't have a leg anymore, or why you're in a coma, or why your character has died, or generally something horrifically bad, because this status has seriously affected your character to the point that they're probably out of the game. And the same applies for enemies. So your enemies are going to have these statuses afflicted on them by you as well, and they're going to have tiers, and as those tiers increase, you can knock out enemies, you can kill enemies, you can put them to sleep, all kinds of stuff like that by inflicting these statuses on them. So the last thing to mention is how these tiers actually increase. Obviously, if someone punches you one time, then you may get the tag head trauma 3 or something like that. So how does that 3 get to a 5? Well, that all comes down to what happens when you take statuses that are on the same spectrum. And what that means is statuses that are very similar. Tired, drowsy, sleepy are all very similar. So instead of getting 3 different statuses that are tired, drowsy, and sleepy, those statuses would affect each other. So if you ever acquire a higher tiered status that's on the same spectrum and you already have a lower tier, then the higher tier takes the place of the lower tier. So if you have tired 1 and you take tired 3, then you just have tired 3. If you have tired 1 and you take drowsy 3 takes the place of tired 1. Those are similar effects, so the higher one just takes the place of the lower one. If you ever acquire statuses on the same spectrum that are equal tiered, then they just bump one of the statuses up 1 tier. So if you're at tired 2 and you take drowsy 2, then you would just bump tired 2 up to tired 3 instead. And then if you were to take a lower tier status when you already have a higher, then the lower tier status will incrementally increase the higher tier status. So if you have drowsy 3 and you take tired 1, then it will not bump it up to drowsy 4, but it will start to slowly build up to drowsy 4. And you keep track of that on your spectrum card via this little track here. So you can see in the example we were talking about, if I was at drowsy 3, then my tag would say drowsy here. I would have 3 marked off to show that I'm at drowsy tier 3. If I were to take tired 1, what I would do is check the next box after the 3. And then if I take tired 1 again, I check the next box. Then if I take tired 1 again, I take the next box. And now this box puts me at drowsy 4 because I've incrementally built up to the next tier. And this is a little bit easier to think of if you think of it in terms of damage. If you hit someone really hard and they take traumatized 3, and then you do like a not as powerful of a punch, but you hit them again, then you'll bump up to that box, then this box, then this box, and all of a sudden they're at traumatized 4, and you build all the way up to traumatized 5, and maybe they get knocked out. Or you keep pummeling them, or you hit them so hard that they get traumatized 6 and they die. So that's how you inflict statuses, keep track of statuses. That's kind of what provides the danger for your character. And you just do this instead of having hit points and tracking a bunch of different stats. So that's all for this video. In the next video, we're going to take a quick look, just do a little overview of the different characters that you'll be able to choose from during the one shot. That way you'll be able to kind of have an idea of the couple of characters that you'd like to play, and we'll be able to get that sorted out pretty quickly when we start. And then that'll be the last series of videos in this one-shot preparation series.